For generations, textbooks have taught a specific sequence of human progress. We learned to farm, which allowed us to settle into permanent cities, which finally gave us the surplus time and resources to build massive temples and invent complex religion. But the discovery of Göbekli Tepe in southern Turkey is incompatible with that model. Excavators found a series of massive stone rings and cleanly carved limestone pillars, some standing 18 feet tall and weighing up to 16 tons. Carbon dating places their construction roughly 11,600 years ago, 7 millennia before the Great Pyramid of Giza. At this time, the people in this region were nomadic hunter-gatherers. They had no wheels, no beasts of burden, and no established agriculture to feed a concentrated workforce. If monumental temples predate farming, it suggests the traditional order of history is exactly backward. It raises a radical possibility that the pursuit of the sacred wasn't a result of the Neolithic Revolution, but its primary cause. To understand why we built temples before houses, we have to look at an evolutionary trait called hyperactive agency detection. Early humans survived by attributing intention to the unknown. If a bush rustled in the dark, the brain that assumed a predator was responsible lived to pass on its genes, while the brain that assumed it was just the wind often did not. Over thousands of years, this survival mechanism evolved into animism, the belief that all things, from rivers to rocks, possess a spirit or a consciousness. Physical proof of this prehistoric reverence exists in the archaeological record. Artifacts like the Venus of Willendorf suggest a deep-rooted spiritual connection to the natural world that predates the first cities by thousands of years. As language became more complex, these solitary instincts for survival morphed into shared storytelling. The rustling in the bushes became an ancestral spirit, and individual fear transformed into collective myth. These shared rituals provided a massive evolutionary advantage through group selection. Shared belief bound disconnected individuals into highly cooperative tribes, allowing for a scale of physical coordination that was previously impossible. That coordination was the engine behind the massive stone rings at Göbekli Tepe. But gathering hundreds of nomadic pilgrims in one barren location created a logistical crisis. The builders and the faithful had to be fed. Archaeologists believe the caloric demand of keeping pilgrims concentrated here forced hunter-gatherers to cultivate wild grasses. This is where farming took root. The localized need to sustain a spiritual center triggered the agricultural revolution, domesticating wheat to ensure rituals continued. This pattern represents the dawn of infrastructure being built specifically to support human religious participation. The evidence suggests that our first permanent infrastructures were designed to serve the temple. Our economic and physical foundations were built to facilitate the sacred. From these localized centers, the complexity of belief scaled alongside human populations, evolving into the massive systems we recognize today. In ancient Iran, Zoroastrianism emerged, introducing a cosmic dualism between good and evil and the worship of a single supreme being. In the Indus-Saraswati region, fire worship formalized into Hinduism, bringing forth vast theological concepts like karma and dharma to govern social life. In the high deserts of western Tibet, the Zhangjiang culture organized isolated societies through the Bon religion, centered on a fortified capital that mirrored the strategic scale of their beliefs. Eventually, the monotheistic faiths of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam reached a global scale. As we moved from tribes to empires, the gods shifted from local nature spirits to omnipotent overseers of millions. As human societies grew more complex, our spiritual structures grew with them, expanding to organize and unify increasingly larger portions of the human family. Today, our world is a tapestry of dharmic traditions, Abrahamic faiths, and secular humanism. We even see ancient ideas echoing in modern philosophy. Panpsychism, the view that consciousness is fundamental to the entire universe, is a scientifically informed version of the animism practiced by our ancestors. While the names of the gods and the shapes of the temples have changed over 11,000 years, the underlying psychological architecture of the human mind remains identical. The prehistoric hunter looking for agency in the rustling grass and the modern astronomer seeking meaning in the rotation of the stars are driven by the same impulse. The drive to connect with something larger than ourselves is the evolutionary catalyst that pulled us into a civilized world. We built our society around the questions we couldn't answer.